The Adventures of KeeganBear. Well, once upon a time, KeeganBear the teddy was outside playing in the backyard. The sun was shining, birds were chirping, and the breeze carried the smell of fresh summer air. KeeganBear had his favourite toy dirt bike, a small blue one with tiny rubber wheels and pretend mud splatters painted on the sides. He pushed it back and forth through the grass with his paws, making engine sounds. "Vroom, vroom," he said. The little toy bumped over sticks and tiny hills of dirt, leaving pretend tracks in the soft earth. As he played, a soft shimmer of golden light floated near the edge of the yard. It sparkled quietly between the wildflowers, shimmering in a way he recognized. KeeganBear paused. It was Twinkle the fairy, her wings glimmering like sugar crystals in the sunlight. "Hi, Twinkle," KeeganBear called, smiling brightly. "Hello, KeeganBear," she said with a sweet little wave. "Looks like you're having fun." "I sure am. This is my favorite dirt bike toy," he said, grinning. Twinkle giggled softly, her wings fluttering faster. "Well, maybe I can help make it more fun." She lifted her tiny wand, sparkles swirling around her. "Reel for the day," she whispered with a wink. The air around the toy dirt bike began to glow. The wheels spun on their own, the metal shimmered, and before KeeganBear's wide eyes, the tiny toy began to grow, bigger and bigger, until it was a real dirt bike, gleaming and ready to ride. KeeganBear gasped, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Whoa, you did it, Twinkle!" She smiled warmly. "Have fun, KeeganBear, but be careful!" And with that, she fluttered away into the sunlight, her trail of sparkles fading softly behind her. He climbed onto the dirt bike, his paws gripping the handles. The engine purred like a happy kitten. "All right, let's see what this baby can do," he said. With a twist of the handle, the bike roared to life and shot forward, kicking up grass and dust behind him. He sped down the road through the little town, wind rushing through his fur. People waved as he passed. No one seemed surprised to see a teddy bear on a dirt bike. He zoomed by the bakery, where the smell of warm bread filled the air. Then by the park, where kids stopped their games to cheer. Ahead was a dirt ramp at the edge of a yard. "Let's go for it," shouted KeeganBear. The bike soared off the ramp and jumped right over a house, the engine humming as he flew through the air. Down below, 4 cats on the porch, all scattered in every direction. "Sorry, kitties," he laughed as he landed smoothly on the other side. Then he headed for the woods. The trail was bumpy, with sticks and leaves flying everywhere as he raced through. Mud splashed up his legs and the sound of the roaring engine echoed through the trees. Soon he reached the mountain trail. The dirt bike climbed higher and higher, its tires gripping the rocky path until he reached the very top. The view was beautiful. He could see the whole town glowing below in the orange sunset. With a grin, KeeganBear revved the engine and zoomed down the mountain faster and faster until he reached home again, just as the sky turned pink and gold. He parked the dirt bike in the yard, gave it a pat and whispered, "Best day ever." A soft sparkle floated by on the evening breeze, Twinkle's magic gently fading with the sunset, as the bike shimmered and turned back into a toy once more. It was late, so KeeganBear the teddy did like every night. He took a warm bath. He put on pajamas, he brushed his teeth. Then he crawled into bed with Big Boy Keegan and snuggled up tight for a good night's sleep. The end. Well, once upon a time, Daddy decided to take KeeganBear the teddy, Big Boy Keegan, and Mika out for a special walk in the woods. "Today," Daddy said with a big smile, "we're going to learn about some of the amazing trees that grow right here in Nova Scotia." They were excited as they stepped onto the forest path. The air smelled fresh, and the sunlight peeked through the leaves. Daddy stopped in front of a tall Christmas tree. This, he said, pointing, is called a balsam fir tree. Every year since 1917, around Christmas time, Nova Scotia donates the biggest and most beautiful balsam fir tree to Boston to say thank you for helping after the Halifax explosion. And did you know, Daddy added, your great-grandparents, the Petries, donated one years ago? Wow! All three of them said together. KeeganBear's eyes grew wide, imagining the huge trees sparkling with lights in a faraway city. They continued walking along the winding path, listening to the crunch of leaves beneath their feet. Big Boy Keegan stopped suddenly and pointed to a slender, white-barked tree. "Look at this one," he exclaimed. Daddy walked over and smiled. "That's a birch tree. See how the bark peels off in thin layers like paper. Birch bark is very useful too. It's great for helping get a campfire going when we're camping." KeeganBear reached out and peeled a piece of bark off. "It's kind of rough but soft at the same time," he said, grinning. They walked on a little further when KeeganBear noticed a tree with tiny green apples hanging from its branches. "Daddy, what's that one?" he asked. "That," Daddy said, "is called a northern crab apple tree. The apples are very bitter, so we usually don't eat them." KeeganBear couldn't resist and took a little bite of one of the green apples. His face scrunched up immediately. "Wow, that's sour!" he exclaimed, spitting it out and laughing. Next, it was Mika's turn to spot something. She jumped up and pointed proudly at a tree with bright green leaves. "That's a maple tree," she said. "It's on Canada's flag." Daddy nodded. "Exactly, Mika. The maple is very special to Canada. We also get maple syrup from these trees if we tap them and boil down the juice." The sun was slowly dipping behind the trees, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. The forest glowed softly in the fading light. Daddy said, "Let's start heading back home." KeeganBear, Big Boy Keegan, Mika and Daddy walked home talking quietly about the trees they had seen and the interesting facts they had learned. Every step back home was filled with happy chatter and the excitement of having explored the wonderful woods of Nova Scotia. It was late, so KeeganBear and Big Boy Keegan did like every night. They took baths, put on PJs, brushed their teeth, crawled into bed and snuggled up tight for a good night's sleep. The end. Well, once upon a time, KeeganBear, the Teddy and Big Boy Keegan were out in the backyard on a nice warm evening. The sky was blue, the grass was soft, and a soccer ball sat between them. "Ready, KeeganBear?" asked Big Boy Keegan with a grin. "You bet I am," said KeeganBear, bouncing up and down on his little fuzzy feet. Big Boy Keegan gave the ball a gentle kick, and KeeganBear kicked it, making it roll right back. They kicked the ball back and forth, laughing and cheering every time the ball went flying. Then Big Boy Keegan said, "Want to learn some tricks?" KeeganBear's button eyes lit up. "Oh, yes, please." Big Boy Keegan showed him the step over, swinging one foot over the ball before kicking it the other way. "It confuses your opponent," he said proudly. KeeganBear tried it, wobbling a little, but after a few tries, he got it. "Look, I did it," he laughed. Then Big Boy Keegan said, "Now for the coolest one, the rainbow flick." He rolled the ball up the back of his leg and flicked it high into the air over his head. KeeganBear gasped. "Whoa, that was amazing." KeeganBear gave it a try, but the ball only popped a few inches up. "That's my rainbow sprinkle flick," he said proudly. They both laughed and kicked the ball back and forth again and again, until Big Boy Keegan gave one super big kick and whoosh! The ball sailed right over the fence and into the neighbor's yard. "Oh no," said KeeganBear. "That's where the big barking dog lives." The dog started barking loudly. "Woof! Woof! Woof!" They ran inside to tell Mommy. "Mommy," said Big Boy Keegan, "our ball went over the fence. We're going to go ask the neighbor if we can get it back." Mommy smiled gently. That's the right thing to do. Go ahead, but I'll watch from the window just in case. So KeeganBear and Big Boy Keegan bravely walked next door. They knocked on the neighbor's door. An old man with kind eyes opened it, looking surprised. Well, hello there. How can I help you two? Big Boy Keegan explained about the ball, and the man chuckled softly. Of course, come on in. They walked through his cozy home, full of pictures on every wall. Of his kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, cousins. You have a big family, they said. I sure do, said the man with a smile. Now let's go meet Abby. Out back, the big barking dog stood with her tail frozen. She doesn't bite, she just likes to bark for a minute to get to know you, said the man. Just stand still and let her sniff you. KeeganBear and Big Boy Keegan did just that. Abby barked for a minute while she sniffed them. And suddenly, she was all kisses and tail wags. She likes you, laughed the man. KeeganBear picked up their soccer ball, and then they both gave Daisy a pet. They thanked the old man, said goodbye. They went home and played soccer again. Mummy and Daddy came outside. Mummy said, you were brave for asking the neighbor properly. Daddy added, and extra brave for meeting that barking dog. KeeganBear smiled. Abby turned out to be a really nice dog once she got to know us. And everyone giggled. It was late, so KeeganBear and Big Boy Keegan did like every night. They took baths, put on PJs, brushed their teeth, crawled into bed and snuggled up tight for a good night's sleep. The end. Well, once upon a time, KeeganBear the teddy was sitting in his chair when a tiny mosquito flew into the house. She buzzed straight past Big Boy Keegan's nose, making him wave his hands wildly and nearly stumble over his feet. Hey, what's that? Daddy shouted as the mosquito looped and twirled around the room. It zipped over everyone's heads, and Mika squealed as it tangled in her hair. Mommy grabbed a dish towel and tried to shoo it away. But the mosquito was too quick, dodging every swipe. Shoo, shoo, she buzzed, darting past the kitchen and circling the living room again. Big Boy Keegan grabbed his toy net and swung at her, missing by just a little each time. I'll get her, he called. But the mosquito zipped out of reach, almost teasing them as she flew. KeeganBear watched calmly from his chair. He noticed that the mosquito wasn't being mean on purpose. She just looked confused and a little hungry. She probably just needs to get outside, he said to himself. Mommy tried filling a cup with water, thinking maybe she was thirsty. The mosquito hovered above the cup, then darted to the ceiling instead, perfectly avoiding every attempt to catch her. Daddy even tried swatting with a magazine, but she zipped past so quickly that it only made him frown. The house was filled with buzzing, giggling, and shouting. Mika tumbled to the floor laughing while the mosquito danced around their heads. Everyone was trying in their own way, but no one could catch her. Finally, KeeganBear stood up and got a small jar. Then he approached the mosquito slowly. Come here, little one, he whispered softly. The mosquito paused, hovering over him, curious but cautious. KeeganBear gently put the jar over her and then carefully closed it. I didn't catch you to hurt you, he said. I just want to help you get back outside. He walked to the open window and lifted the jar. Go find some flowers and sunshine, he told the mosquito. Next time, stay outside, not inside our house. With a tiny buzz, she flew out the window and disappeared into the sunlight. The house finally felt quiet again. Everyone clapped and laughed, relieved that the little mosquito was safe and the chaos was over. Mummy smiled at KeeganBear. That was very kind of you, she said. You didn't hurt her at all. KeeganBear nodded. It's always better to help than to make a mess, he replied, brushing off his fur. The family settled down again, grateful for the peaceful house, and everyone felt happy that a small creature had been treated with care instead of fear. It was late, so KeeganBear and Big Boy Keegan did like every night. They took baths, put on PJs, brushed their teeth, crawled into bed and snuggled up tight for a good night's sleep. The end. Well, once upon a time, in the soft morning glow, KeeganBear the teddy set out nice and slow. His 4x4 truck sparkled red, green, and blue, heading for the forest where the tall pines grew. He parked by a stream where the wildflowers sway, and stretched out his arms to start a fine day. A rustle, a wiggle, a hop, hop, hop sound. A rabbit appeared, soft and round. "Hello there, Bunny," KeeganBear said with cheer. "I'm happy to see you. I'm glad you came near." The rabbit sniffed gently, her whiskers a twitch. "I'm Ruby," she said. "I live near that ditch." They laughed and began to play tag by the creek, hiding behind trees, both trying to sneak. They leapt over logs and slid down the hill. Their giggles bounced softly. The forest went still. KeeganBear stopped. "Ruby," he said, "you're really quick." "How do you run so fast?" Ruby smiled. "My paws are light as feathers, and I always zigzag so foxes can't catch me." KeeganBear nodded. "Smart thinking. Maybe you can teach me that move." Then off they went, the fun back in rhyme, spinning through sunlight, losing all time. They hopped over puddles, they rolled in the moss, counting the dragonflies that shimmered across. A gentle breeze whispered a musical hum. The rabbit drummed rhythms with one fuzzy thumb. KeeganBear clapped, then gave a loud cheer. "The woods are alive when my new friend is here." Ruby paused. "Do you come to the forest a lot?" she asked. "Whenever I can," KeeganBear said. "Big boy Keegan's at school today, so I thought I'd explore." "That's nice," said Ruby. "It's peaceful here. Sometimes I just listen to the wind through the grass." They sat side by side as clouds drifted by, both watching an eagle gliding high in the sky. The world felt so big, yet cozy and kind, with friendship and laughter perfectly lined. Then Ruby stood up and wiggled her nose. "Let's race to the meadow where the clover grows." They bounded through brambles, past bluebell and fern, each corner revealing a new twist and turn. KeeganBear's fur caught a sparkle of dew. He grinned as he shouted, "I'm almost to you." Ruby was faster, but stopped at the end. "I'll let you in this time, my teddy friend." They both caught their breath. "That was amazing," said KeeganBear. "You're the fastest friend I've ever met." Ruby giggled. "And you're the biggest jumper I've ever seen." They both laughed until they tipped over in the grass, as sunbeams grew softer and shadows stretched tall. The forest felt sleepy and quiet for all. KeeganBear waved as Ruby hopped home, promising next time he wouldn't roam alone. He whispered a thanks to the trees up above for giving him laughter, adventure, and love. He got back in his truck and drove back home. It was late, so KeeganBear the teddy did like every night. He took a warm bath. He put on pajamas, he brushed his teeth. Then he crawled into bed with big boy Keegan and snuggled up tight for a good night's sleep. The end.